can just give me a thumb icon. You can give me a thumbs up icon if you're hearing me clearly this morning. Beautiful. I love the interaction so far. And that's how we're hoping the rest of the morning will go. So good morning and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining this free Make Your Mark Consultants webinar, Strength in Recovery, giving you coping strategies and crisis management for teens. I am Trisha Lee, and I'm representing Make Your Mark Consultants today. And we first want to offer our sympathy to those of you who have been significantly impacted by the hurricane, and or your family members, your friends, and your colleagues who might still be struggling at this time. We are humbled and happy to just be playing our part in the restoration of our nation at this time through the use of this webinar. So to begin, I'll invite any one of you to start our day with prayers. So do I have any volunteers? You can just put the raise hand emoji. Like it's been on your heart to speak something over Jamaica. No? All right. So I'll go ahead at this time. So let us pray. Eternal Father, we ask you to bless our land and continue to guide us with your mighty hand. We have been through some difficult times recently, but we're not letting it make us forget you. We're not letting it shake us. There's still the rattling, there's still the tremors of this event, still flowing through our lives, through our offices, through our homes. But the solid rock of Jesus Christ still stands. So today we are asking you to make yourself even more visible in this healing session, in this time of restoration, in this one baby step forward in how we move past this, or we go through this, because it's not even something we can just pretend didn't happen. We have to go through it. And so we pray for your strength, for your guidance, for your wisdom, for your compassion, for your grace to be on everyone here today. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so as I said, we're inviting you to be ready to receive, to heal, to help, and to apply what we learned today, as we have a specially curated conversation set up for you this morning. But before I go any further, we do have a few housekeeping matters. So if you had not registered before, I'm going to ask you to please email your details to mymctraining2013@gmail.com. And that's going to be dropped in the chat if it's not already there. And we're asking you to send us your name, email, job title, and organization, and your phone number, so we can continue to provide some supportive material for you. There will be material after this seminar, so we need to have your contact details to send it to you if you hadn't registered before. Also, to be of greatest benefit to you, this is an interactive session. You're not just gonna have the speakers talking. We want to have a conversation. So please feel free to drop your comments and your questions in the chat. The only specification we have is that you type the word question before your question, so we can easily identify those and pick them out for our Q&A time that's going to come after the presentations. Now, at various points, you'll also have the opportunity to open your mics. We'll let you know when that is. Just raise your hand, and once acknowledged, our coordinators will open up your mic and allow you to speak. We're also going to place a few links in the chat that lead to some forms that we're asking you to complete. The webinar's attendance register for those who had registered early is going to be the first link. Then there will be an evaluation form and a testimonial form. Now, your other coordinators working with me today are Mark, Michael, and Evan. So they're behind the scenes, but they'll be able to answer some of your questions on the chat as well. So ladies and gentlemen, let's now welcome our presenters. I'm going to start with the first presenter who will be coming on, which is Miss Sonia Winter. And Sonia started Tea House Therapy in 2018 with just one goal in mind: to help individuals, couples, and families improve their ability to relate to themselves and to each other in order to create healthy, satisfying relationships. She holds a master's in clinical psychology and is the only Gottman Level 3 certified, trained clinical psychologist in the Caribbean. And some of you might have heard about the Gottman Institute, and their model provides evidence-based approaches to developing a master's of intimate relationships. So if you want to be a master's in your intimate relationship, you can check out Sonia at the Tea House Therapy. So in addition to her work and leadership there, she also occasionally provides therapy at Family Life Ministries. And she has enjoyed a satisfying marriage to Brian for over 20 years, and they have 2 young adult daughters. Our other speaker is going to be Danielle Terrelonge. Now, Danielle is head of division at DRT Communications, One Great Studio, and she's a seasoned marketing communications expert and certified mindset and wellness coach with over 15 years of experience in the PR and media industry. Now, she's a founder and managing director of DRT that provides innovative and effective communication strategies to a diverse range of clients from corporate to creative sectors. But she's most passionate about helping individuals and teams achieve their personal and professional goals. And she does this through her coaching and consulting business called Well by Danielle. There, she offers one-on-one sessions and corporate workshops where she guides clients to create their most well version of themselves in mind, body, and spirit, because she believes that wellness and communication are essential skills for success and happiness. So she empowers her clients with the tools and techniques to master them. And last but not least, we have the brainstormer of this webinar, Dr. Jacqueline Coke-Lloyd, Managing Director for Make Your Mark Group. She believes that leadership and transformation underpin business, professional development, and growth. So she's not only managing director, but she's an author, certified behavioral coach, mediator, and justice of the peace. Internationally, she's represented Jamaica with distinction on platforms like the UN, the OAS, and the Inter-American Development Bank. She served on a number of local boards, University of Technology, Young Entrepreneurs Association, JEF, and internationally, she was elected to serve on boards for Caribbean Employers Federation and the ILO. She's currently sitting on the boards of the Sagicor Group, Grateful Faces Charity, and Transformed Life Church, among many others. So please welcome the ladies with all of your clap hand emojis and reactions. And Sonia will begin by setting the tone for us. So Sonia, I'm not seeing you on my screen yet, but there you go. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Tricia. Am I being heard okay? Will you stay close to me, Tricia, so that I can know how I'm being received and monitor the chat on my behalf, please?
I will, and I'm hearing you loud and clear.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. It's good to be together. My focus is mental health, right? And mental health and mental wellness. And a huge anchor of mental wellness is really a sense of belonging. Human beings as social animals, we really thrive when we feel a sense of belonging to something bigger than ourselves. So that we're all here, just gathering in this way already, we're supporting our mental health through this gathering. So I'm really encouraged and gathered and that we're all here sharing in this way. I'm going to share my screen in 2 seconds. All right. I'll just check that. So Tricia, I need your guidance again that you're seeing.
All right. Where you can show slides. And
wait 1 second here. All right, here we go.
Great. We're seeing it okay too.
Mhm. All right, I'm just going to experiment with presenter mode for a moment so you can tell me if you're seeing my notes or not. Mhm.
Not seeing your notes, but we are seeing the transcript, meaning as you speak, it's showing.
Okay. So let me see if I can switch off the captions.
Seeing the mouse.
I'm trying to find captions. All right, let's run with it.
Okay.
Give me one sec. Ah, found it. Turn off captions here. All right. Are you still seeing my screen and as well as my notes?
Very clearly. Well,
All
not
right.
your notes. I'm not seeing your notes, but I'm seeing your screen.
Great. All right, let's go. So thanks for your patience with me just now as I kind of oriented myself here. So we are talking about strength in recovery, and my job from a mental health point of view is to share with everyone some coping strategies, because all of us are in a bit of crisis right now. Our fight or flight response has not switched off quite yet. You know, there's still a lot of adrenaline coursing through our bodies, ours and the team members that we lead. So we are still in crisis, and our nation, of course, is in crisis. So how do we lead in this setting? You know, the past 2 weeks have really been a huge emotional experience, as well as, you know, the kind of, in addition to the devastation that we faced. And as leaders, I'm sure that you all are charged not only with the task of managing the resuscitation of your organizations, but also the resuscitation of your teams as well. And you had pre-existing work challenges, you know. But in addition to all of this, you're now going to face the human side of recovery. Okay, you're going to have to be dealing with your own emotions, and you're going to be dealing with your team's emotions as well. And in many cases, what you're going to be confronting is grief. You're going to be confronting grief and just complete emotional overwhelm and exhaustion. So as we talk today about strength in recovery, I hope that I can leave with you ideas about leadership that can be healing. And I want to leave you with practical tools, but also to share with you just what it is to have a heart of humanity, you know, and to apply that humanity behind your leadership in the face of this kind of chaos. When our whole world is shaken and upside down, how do you lead with heart and humanity? So my goal is to help you find a perspective that's compassionate, but also to give you strategies to guide your team and yourselves through this time, through the time ahead of us, you know, the recovery that's ahead of us, because it's really going to require a lot of stamina. So in order to do that, as I said, all of us, our bodies are still in fight or flight. So let's just catch our breath for a second. And so everybody that is participating, every single person that is listening now, I'm asking you to stop what you're doing just for a moment. If you're on your phone, please put it down for a moment. If you're distracted, if you're in a conversation elsewhere, I'm asking you to stop what you are doing. Give me your attention. Let's all together activate our parasympathetic nervous system to give our bodies a little bit of calm. Okay, so we're all gonna take a deep breath together, a slow deep breath in, and I'm going to count for you. I'm going to count for you. I'm going to count. I'm going to say after 3, you can start breathing through your nose only. Seal your lips and take a deep breath through your nose. I'm going to count for 3 for you to hold it. And then I'm going to count for 5 for you to pucker up and blow hard through your mouth. And I want you to take this as a moment for all of us that honors our anxiety that we're going through, as well as just honoring everybody who has lost so much. we're going to take one collective breath. Okay? So everybody, hear me out. After 3, you're going to take a deep breath in through your nose. 1, 2, 3. Breathing in through your nose for 1, 2, 3. Please hold it for 1, 2, 3. Pucker up and blow it all out for 5, 4. Softening your shoulders. 3, 2, and 1. And give your weight to the chair that you're sitting on. All right. And then I'm finally just going to ask you to just sort of rock your neck from side to side, just sort of stretching your neck a little bit and just noticing and leaning into the stretch of your muscles and the musculature. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope everybody participated in that. Just let's just catch our breath for a moment. Okay. So let's talk about the storm. Melissa has gone on, has left us, moved on. And even though the hurricane itself has passed, there remains a storm inside and outside of us, because the truth is that this hurricane, we witnessed as this hurricane tore through homes, through hillsides, through people's lives. And many of us gathered here lost a lot. We lost roofs, we lost homes, we lost loved ones. And many of us watched helplessly, as the destruction unfolded. We continue to see the footage, we're hearing stories, and all of these things, they're just breaking our hearts as we witness them, And more than anything else, we've lost a sense of normalcy, And in the weeks since, it's been 2 weeks and a day since, I know that you as leaders are now required to lead your teams through both these storms, the storm that of outside in the business world and your business, meeting your business objectives, but also the storm that's happening inside you and inside the people that you lead. This is where now leadership becomes less about direction and more about humanity. We all are going to have to lead by showing, my friends, that it's okay to feel, and you can keep showing up even while you're feeling, but it is important to demonstrate the fact that it's human to feel everything that we're going through right now. So I'd love us to take a quick poll, please. I'm going to ask everybody to participate and just check yourself. How do you think you're showing up today? Which of the words below, phrases, best capture how you've been feeling this week? Have you been feeling drained but determined? Do you feel numb and just going through the motions? Do you feel hopeful and slowly regaining focus? Do you feel overwhelmed by other people's needs? I'm just going to ask, Trisha, are you able to see the poll?
Yeah, I am. And our team is going to put up the Zoom poll now. So
Okay, yes,
we can
please.
actually complete it. And then we'll see what the results look like. So it should be on your screens now.
Great, thank you. Great participation, yes.
And we'll let it stay up until we have about 100 of you. So
all right,
how
are we doing?
So far it's showing only about 60, 70 of you. For over 100 participants. So we'll just give you a moment to complete that.
And even as we check, what we're doing is a check-in, everybody. We're asking everybody to just stop and take stock of what they're experiencing, Okay, all right. I think we have no, not yet.
Now we're just at about 83. Can we get it to 90? Is everybody at least to 90? Because like I said, we have almost 115 persons on the call. So we do want to ensure that we're checking in with everyone and giving everyone a chance to do that.
Yeah, okay. And what we're doing, everybody, is we're checking in with ourselves. We're acknowledging what we're going through. And that's the first way to start supporting your mental health.
So Sonia, this is for our benefits as well as to give you an idea of where we are.
Exactly, for sure. It's for the benefit of our mental health, you know. You kind of have to know where you're at before you can move forward in a way, you know.
So we're going to leave it up, but once we're
right.
at 100 now.
Yes, okay.
And
I want you to notice, so what we have is most people are feeling hopeful and slowly regaining focus, but there's a large number of us nonetheless who are feeling drained and determined. And there are also others also feeling numb and also overwhelmed. And I think whichever of these options you choose, it's important to remember that the same kind of diversity of emotions is probably existing within your teams right now. Okay. Some of your team members, they're ready to move forward, but others are still in an emotional survival mode, as it were, you know. And to lead them in this kind of crisis, it means making space for all of it, for all of these emotions, but not rushing people to recover, but helping to walk them through recovery, as it were. Okay? So this check-in is a useful thing for yourself and for your team members, as I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit later. So let's talk about what you as individuals are carrying, and therefore what your teams are also carrying. And it is trauma. We have all been traumatized to one degree or another, and trauma doesn't always look dramatic. Okay, it sometimes looks very ordinary. Sometimes when you may notice the individuals in your team, they may be forgetting things, they may be more irritable than usual, snapping at others, they may burst into tears for no obvious reasons, they may become silent and withdrawn. These are not performance issues in and of themselves. They're human responses to overwhelm. That's what you're looking at. You may also be feeling and seeing guilt. You know, human beings have built into their DNA neurons called mirror neurons, which is where when something or someone that you care about is experiencing something, your nervous system can almost mirror a lot of what you're seeing in that person. You know, and because you're seeing the suffering in our brothers and sisters across the island, and you have a sense of responsibility for them, that sense of responsibility transforms into guilt. The guilt is designed for us to feel uncomfortable so that we can look at the needs of other people. So as uncomfortable as guilt feels right now, it's a useful emotion, excuse me, to get our attention. Okay, to the contrast between our situation and the situation of people who we care about, people who matter to us. Okay, so you're often you'll hear yourself asking, why was I spared when so many people lost so much? And your colleagues, your peers, and your team members are going to be asking themselves the same question. Also, we're now at the stage where people can be starting to show compassion fatigue. Okay, that's where you have had a burst of energy and adrenaline to support other people, and you have been doing whatever you can in your small or large way to be caretakers, to be helpers, to be contributors. And then also, as your family and friends start to depend on you, turn to you, you're going to find yourself and your team members even more so caretakers. You know, the fact that you were not as dislocated as many others means that you're going to find yourself, and your team members are going to find themselves supporting others in many different ways, in logistical ways, in financial ways, in caregiving ways. And what that means is that there's going to be compassion fatigue starting now, and which will intensify in the weeks and months ahead. So that's something to look out for in yourselves and also in the people that you lead. So it's important that all of us as leaders here recognize that these symptoms that we're seeing are not performance issues or weakness, as it were. It's not, it's not that when people are showing emotions, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to become undone, or, it is natural human responses, and it's just symptoms of your humanity at work. And what is required now is to have the emotional capital to be able to respond to those expressions of grief and guilt, to be able to respond to that with empathy, okay, instead of impatience. We do have a long road of recovery ahead of us, and we'll be at different stages of readiness to do so. And that can sometimes translate into impatience on our part, but we're all at different places in our accommodation of this trauma and of what has happened. Now, there's a psychological reality that I'd really like to share with everybody. And there are certain things called psychological protective resources. And what I mean by that is that every human being has resources that can protect their mental health. One of the most powerful and profound protectors of mental health in human beings. I think somebody needs to mute their mic, please. Okay, thank you. One of the most profound protectors of human beings' mental health is that sense of belonging, okay? A sense of being a part of something bigger than yourself, a sense of being a part of a group, a family, an organization, a sense of belonging to an effort. That sense of belonging is very important to us as social animals, and it really can protect and guide our mental health, okay? And so see this sense of belonging as an anchor for mental health, as it were. And so in every disaster, what can save us as human beings is not just aid, it's not just relief, but it's each other. That sense that someone can see what you're going through, someone cares, and someone remembers you, even by name. That sense of belonging is a very powerful protector of mental health. So in Jamaica, this is a phrase we're all very familiar with. We little but we talawa, and we're hearing it a lot right now in the face of this hurricane, or the aftermath of this hurricane. And it focuses really on, the fact that we're talawa, and that's about resilience. We're strong. But I want to also focus our attention on the we in the we lick about with talawa. The we speaks to our togetherness, right? And so as leaders, it's very important to build belonging and togetherness intentionally. Very important to lead by building belonging and connection intentionally. And you know how to do that. Check in with people, address people by name, look them in the eye, keep routines where possible, create small moments of connection. That can reinforce people's sense of belonging and can really bolster their mental health. And I'm going to keep saying this, bolster their mental health for the long road of recovery that's ahead of us. So I promise you, whenever your team feels that sense of we are together in this, then emotional safety can return and healing can really begin. Another anchor, a protector of mental health for human beings is having a sense of purpose. Okay? Purpose is that sense that my life matters, that my work has some meaning. That's a sense of purpose. And when you have a sense of purpose, you can understand how much that can bolster your mental health, right? You have a reason for living. And so purpose can give direction to all of us when we're in pain, when we're traumatized, and we have a sense of purpose that can really give us direction. So when people can see how their work contributes to something larger, even in a small step towards recovery, that can really renew hope. And I know that many of us are feeling hopeless, or will have moments rather of feeling hopeless. If you can crystallize your sense of purpose as a human being, as an individual, right, that can renew hope. And that's true of the people that you lead as well. So please encourage your team to examine what it is they do, and reaffirm for themselves why it is that what they're doing matters. What they're doing right now, every day that they come to work, matters. It matters to, if it's even about the the national economic well-being, so that we can recover, okay, then reaffirm that that matters right now, and that's the purpose that we can all align behind. So also maybe it's supporting your colleagues, helping customers to rebuild, or simply keeping systems running so that other people can rely on them. If we can align behind meaning in what we do, that's a wonderful and profound protector of our mental health. So please, think of another Jamaican phrase, turn your hand, make fashion, right? That's about resourcefulness, using what we do, even if it's a little, to make something good out of it, okay? And so as leaders, please try to help the teams that you lead find meaning, okay? Find meaning, and it's that meaning that can really move us forward. I want to talk to you about psychological first aid and speak to it from the point of view as a leader. So psychological first aid is a evidence-based approach to helping people in the immediate aftermath of a crisis, okay? So it's an evidence-based approach to helping people in right after a crisis has happened, usually a natural disaster, but other kinds of crisis as well. And how it works is that it helps to reduce distress, and it helps to support healthy coping, okay? It focuses on these four things that you can see here: listening, comforting, protecting, and connecting individuals to resources that can help them to find the strength they need to recover. It's not therapy, it's not psychotherapy, but it's about really being human in how you lead your teams. So the first step of psychological first aid for leaders is to, number one, notice what's happening to the individuals that you lead. Do they seem withdrawn or unlike themselves? Observe those individuals who seem quiet, excuse me, or unusually irritable. Look for these changes. Okay, look for red flags. And remember, as I said before, sometimes it will be dramatic. You'll see emotional overwhelm at work that you can easily identify, but sometimes it will be subtle and quiet changes. Look out for them. And then next step, and the most important and sometimes difficult one, is to actively listen. Actively listen and give the individual the opportunity to express everything that they're feeling before trying to fix it or fix them or fix how they're feeling. Okay, so just by saying, how are you holding up, and really listening with intention, okay, can bring relief. I promise you it can, and can really support their emotional resilience. The third step is to link. If you see an individual who is really not coping, and I'll give you some ideas about that shortly, then it's important to connect them with resources that can help them, okay? Whether it's your HR team, whether it's a psychologist that you know of, or maybe even just another supportive coworker, a family member, a prayer group. Connect them to a resource that can help to bolster that sense of belonging, and also in some cases provide professional help. All right. Step 4 is to do what you can as a leader to protect them. If whatever you can to reduce unnecessary stressors, do what you can. It might be, prioritizing certain projects or delaying the less urgent projects, for example, allowing leeway where you can. So protect their mental health by trying your best to reduce stressors that are not that important. And finally, step 5, empower them where you can. Remind them of what they can do. Remind them that they do have agency. And even as I'm saying them, I'm speaking to you as well. We look to yourself, listen out for yourself. Look for resources that can help you. Protect yourself from unnecessary stressors. And finally, remember that you have a sense of agency here, okay? You can regain strength through very small things, small acts, through small wins, okay? And it's important to acknowledge those. So psychological first aid is something that I'd like you to put in your toolkit. I'm going to give you a little file afterwards, a guide afterwards, that reminds you of these steps. And because this is what leadership with heart really looks like, it's how you as team leaders can normalize our humanness, okay? This is how human beings show up in crisis, okay? And this is how you can normalize that even while we're getting back to work. And again, it's important to just reset your nervous system, okay? Pause sometimes, take a minute, take a breath, one time every now and then. Breathing act is a physical act that you can do that can reset your fight or flight response, okay? That can remind you that you're safe here and now, okay? And reactivate that sense of belonging, that sense of purpose, and point our way forward. So grounding and doing what you can to induce collective calm is another important step to bear in mind as leaders, as you lead teams. Let's talk about what leadership can look like on the ground. So I have some suggestions for you to kind of ground your teams and help you to handle the emotional storms that I spoke about earlier, okay? Do your best, please, to have short, regular team check-ins, okay? That can work much better than long meetings, okay? And the consistency of it also can build trust. So those small, regular team check-ins can be very powerful right now, okay? Always start with empathy before productivity. Do a check-in. How is everybody doing? That was the message of my poll earlier. How are you doing? Check in with yourself, okay? Where you can, adjust workloads and timelines, okay, as much as you can. Model calm and transparency where you can. Admit when you don't have all the answers. This is Leadership 101, which you've all probably learned ages ago, and now it's time to activate it again, okay? That can really humanize you. And remember to celebrate small wins where you can. Even showing up some days is a small win, all right? And remember that we've come far, we've survived, and so just showing up is progress, and progress is healing. No, this is another phrase that we've been hearing from a lot. You can't pour from an empty cup. Yesterday I met with a group of psychologists. They reminded us as we try to support others that you can't pour from a cracked cup either, So it's important to bolster resilience. So this one is for you, the participating leaders gathered here. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Many of you are taking care of employees, but you're also taking care of community, extended family, relatives who have lost homes and who may be living with you now. Please be gentle with yourself. Set boundaries where you can around your availability, okay? Debrief with peers and mentors, okay? Don't hold everything on your own. Limit how much distressing media that you consume. I think we all know that, but please allow me to repeat it anyway. The constant exposure keeps your nervous system in fight or flight mode and hyper vigilant, even after the disaster has passed. And before every big meeting or decision, take a breath, catch your breath. Just like we did earlier, it will help you to respond to the situation, not simply react. And I want to leave you with this thought, please, that leadership is not about being unshaken. It's not about, being stoic. It's really about being steady enough so that you can help other people to find balance as well. Okay? That the people walking beside you and behind you can find balance. People might not remember every single policy or meeting, but they'll remember how you made them feel in this crisis. So I encourage all of us here and myself and every participant here to be the kind of leader who's calm and humanness can give other people permission to be human as well, but permission to breathe as well. Be the kind of listener whose presence can feel like relief. Because the more you show compassion for yourself and for other people, it's contagious. So, can we let that compassion be the light that kind of spreads throughout your team and through your workplace? And as we rebuild step by step, yard by yard, heart by heart, remember that leadership in recovery is about rebuilding trust as well, about rebuilding hope and rebuilding that sense of belonging, that sense of togetherness. So remind yourself and your people that even though the hurricane has really turned us upside down, it hasn't broken us. And every single small act of kindness, and when we do kindness for its own sake, that's a real spirit of altruism. When we offer it with patience and resilience, that's what can help our teams to heal. Okay, I want to thank everybody for the work you're doing. And, it really matters a whole lot more than you realize. I'm going to leave you with a handout. I'm sending you a file. It's a handout and it's called Leading with Compassion. And it has the quick steps for psychological first aid in it. It's just 2 pages. I'm going to ask everybody, please download it. Just keep it close to you. It has a grounding exercise, a great way to start your quick meetings. It has team check-in prompts. It has a prompt to give you if you're prompting sharing from a group or even prompting sharing from an individual. Okay, I ask you to use it, share it with your teams, use it as a reminder that leadership after a disaster such as this it's not about perfection. It's really about being present. It's about being caring. It's about taking small, steady steps forward, because it is our sense of belonging and our togetherness that's going to help us to recover. And as team leaders, you can harness that togetherness, okay, yard by yard. So thank you everybody so much. Look out for that file coming from Make Your Mark. And I really thank you for listening, hearing me out, and open the floor to any comments or questions at this time.
All right. Thank you so much, Sonia. So we have a number of persons responding in the chat, but I've so far only seen one question. So we'll take that one question before we go on to our break. And it's from Grace Howell. And it's, how do leaders manage expectations of team members in crisis? Because it's certain that on our own, we cannot be everywhere. But it is such a challenge to get persons to understand this limitation.
Yeah. I'm gonna have
and one sec, Sonia, in the meantime, while you answer as well, we're also reposting the poll. We've reposted it for those persons who hadn't completed it as yet, because we're now up to 157 persons. So if you hadn't completed the poll yet, it's been relaunched. You should be seeing it that you can do that. So yes, Sonia, you can go ahead.
Yes, managing expectations. It's true. There are going to be expectations that you can meet and many that you can't. And I think that what's most important is the skill of communicating with transparency and honesty, but compassion, the expectations that you can meet. And I almost feel like that's part of Danielle's undertaking. So I think managing expectations is really about effective communication. About what can and cannot be done. I hope that helped a bit.
So
You're welcome,
I
Grace.
hope that was okay for you. All right, so we
I hope that wasn't a setup for Danielle, but
I'll own
no,
it.
hopefully
I'll
not.
own it, Sonia.
Mhm. And yeah, I'm seeing where you might have to redo the poll, even if you did it before. Because it looks like when we relaunched it, we lost some of our results. So we're asking you to do the poll again if you did it before. And we will share all of those results. But Sonia, you know, it was very good. So I realized we have more than 50 persons who joined after you started. And that breathing exercise that we did at the start was super helpful. I felt the weight falling into my chair and I did not realize how tense I was before. So would you mind taking us through that again before we?
oh, thank you for that
And
opportunity.
for the other persons who hadn't been on as yet.
Certainly, certainly. So before I do it, before I go through the exercise, Trisha, I guess I'm gonna market why a deep breath it can be so helpful, you know, because it can sound cliche. Catch your breath can sound really cliche, but taking a deep breath can really reset your nervous system. Okay, all of us are still in fight or flight. You know, every time we hear a story, every time we think about the future, our nervous system activates our fight or flight response. Okay, and we can help to activate what's called our parasympathetic nervous system to kind of soothe our internals a little bit. And the point is that it gives us some space to respond to the situation we're now in, space to be present and respond here and now versus reacting in the way that our fight or flight response can often cause us to do. Okay, so that's me marketing for everybody to every now and then take a deep breath. And there's a trick to it. One of the important things to remember is to make sure that the exhale is longer than the inhale. Okay, so I'm going to count for an inhale for 3, holding it for 3, and exhaling for 4. As you're inhaling, inhale only through your nose, seal your lips. You know, if you can kind of push your tummy out at the same time. Taking a really deep breath in through your nose for 3. We're going to hold it for 3. Then we're going to pucker up and blow so that you can hear it for 5. Okay, so let's do it all together. Again, I'm going to demand that everybody stop what they're doing. Stop what you're doing. Give me your attention. Put the
poll,
cell
so
phone
you can
over.
pause doing the poll. You can
Pause
pause
the
the
poll.
poll for a moment.
Okay, the person that you're talking to, ask them to give you a minute, please. Stop what you're doing. And together, let's take a collective deep breath. After 3, we're going to breathe in through our noses. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in through your nose. 2, 3. Hold it. 2, 3. Pucker up, blow it out. For 5, 4. Softening your shoulders. 3, 2, 1. And collapse into the chair, giving the chair all your weight. And then just stretching your neck a little bit. Stretch those muscles. And it's almost like an internal, you know, a deep breath has been called like an internal shower that you take. And you can do it at any time, just to give yourself and your nervous system a break. Thanks for that opportunity, Trisha.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing it. We need it. We need it. So I am just checking the chat to see if we had any other questions. Doesn't look like we do. So we just have our comments that this was a very profound presentation and effective communication is critical during crisis. And that it was excellent. Agreed. Very useful tools. Excellent presentation, Sonia.
Thank you.
Still, however, reserve the right to
look
ask
out for your
questions.
leaders. Look out for your leaders guide, everybody. Coming your way.
Yes, yes. So we will email that after the event. And we do reserve the right to ask you some questions at the end if something comes up afterwards. So what we're gonna do now is we are going to take a little break. take a restroom break, take a stretch break, and we will come back at 10:51. So at 10:51, we will continue, and Danielle will then continue. She'll take the baton and keep running through this with us. So we'll see you again at 10:51. We'll just have some music playing in the background that hopefully encourages you, strengthens you in the fight. All right, thank you. All right, thank you and welcome back. So hopefully everybody was able to do a quick little break and it's a little stretch. We still have some persons completing the poll, so we'd love to show it If you hadn't done so as yet, I'm going to encourage you to do that as Danielle gets set up. We're up to, we have 170 persons on the call and we have 103 respondents. So that's just about 60% of it. But we know that prior to this, a lot of you had already completed it. So I'm gonna give you like 15 minutes, 15 seconds to add to it. And then we all see the results. This will also help to inform how Danielle proceeds. Okay. All right, so 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're gonna end the poll now with 104 persons. Let me know if you're seeing the results. So we saw that, how are you feeling today? 42% of you are hopeful, slowly regaining focus, which was the whole point of this event, right? We want to keep doing things to help get everyone there. 38% drained but determined, you're feeling the weight, but you're pressing through. 12% feel overwhelmed by others' needs. And Sonia, I know would have spoke to us about how we manage our boundaries. So hopefully when you leave here today, these feelings can change. We'll have a smaller percentage because I'm seeing where it's 12 of you. And tea house therapy is available if we're not able to see a significant change here today. And then 8% of you, or 8 persons, are numb and going through the motions. So we continue to see how best we can address these needs. Sonia, you can speak to the results.
Okay. Trisha, you just reminded me of something. I do want to say, if you do need professional help, what I want to encourage everybody is to use the Jamaica Psychological Association website. There's a long list of psychologists and practices there on their website with contact information and where they're located and how you can get to them. So it's very easy to find a psychologist near you or who provides virtual therapy. So that's jampsych.org. It was in my last slide, but I didn't remember to point it out.
Okay.
Jampsych.com, jampsych.com.
Okay.
And that's where you can go to find a psychologist near you.
Okay. All right. So I've dropped that in the chat and persons can pick it up from there. Thank you so much, Sonia. So yeah. All right. So let's move on to Danielle's presentation. So Danielle is our communication specialist and our mind and health and wellness coach. So let's hear what she has to say. Over to you, Danielle.
Good morning. Are we still at morning? Yes, we are. Good morning, everyone. It is indeed a blessing to be here. I was personally blessed by Sonia and was just glad to be a part of what she had to say. And I have no, I said on the planning meeting, I have no shame in letting you all know that I endorse Tea House Therapy as a collective group of therapists. I am actually a client of theirs, and I encourage everyone, whether through Tea House, that has my full endorsement. But JamPsych is a tremendous resource and asset. There is no shame in asking and needing help at any point in your life. And there's so many trained professionals that we are blessed to have in our island. So thank you again, Sonia. The thing is, I had a breathing exercise and Sonia beat me to it, but then I saw so many people benefit. And there are so many different breathing exercises that I'm actually not going to skip my version because you may enjoy Sonia's more, you may enjoy more, and there are a million online, and you can find what does the right thing for you, what works best for you. And the reason for that is it is in fact important as leaders that we take several opportunities throughout the day, especially many of us on this call who are actively involved in recovery, whether that be recovering, revenue to our companies. Many of us would be submitting budgets at this time of year normally, but now doing budget from a different mental dispensation. And also, many of us are leading team members with a lot of need. So engaging your parasympathetic system a few times per day would never hurt you and certainly support you. So I'll take you through my version that helps me. And I will admit, because I'm an honest person, that I need this as well. Because my prayer this morning is that less of me and all of what the Spirit has for me to say to you, but I come to you nervous as well. So I need to engage my parasympathetic system. So let's do another version. And I have the same request as Sonia, where you take a moment to put your phone down to ask the person beside you if you could just have a moment. And I will take you through 2 cycles, but it is optimal to do up to 4. It is called 4-7-8 breathing, and it was brought to us by a Dr. Andrew Weil, W-E-I-L, a great resource for you. And I have a version of his. So if I ask you to ensure that your feet are planted straight on the floor, allowing the weight of your body to be felt within the chair that you're sitting in, I ask you to put hand on heart. I ask you to feel your heart. And if you follow the sound of my voice and just follow the instructions, this should be helpful to you. I ask you to think of your most happy place, the people, the place. For me, it's the beach. Who would be there? What would be happening? And keep that visual. And on the direction of my voice, I invite you to breathe in deeply from your belly button, in for 4. Hold for 7. And heavily out for 8. Keeping your visual of your most happy place and the people around. Feeling the weight of your body fall. We go in for 4. Hold for 7. Out for 8. As I said, doing up to 4 cycles of that can be helpful. And you may choose my version or Sonia's or many different versions out there. But do ensure that you and your team, perhaps for the next 4 weeks, at the beginning of every meeting, this is something that you can include as well. So I am going to take a moment to ensure that my screen shares properly. And I would just ask that you confirm you are seeing a presentation.
We are. Well,
Okay. Okay, just as long as you're not seeing my desktop, that's okay. So I have the perfect job because I have 2 jobs that combine. I have been in the field of marketing communications for 20 plus years. And yes, thank you for all of you who will now comment in the chat. Really, you don't look that old. I know, I'm kidding. But I also have the benefit of being formally trained as a wellness and a wellness and success coach. I will tell you that now I am not offering coaching services because in coaching, we talk about having gone through the therapeutic work. How do we move forward? So I am not offering, let's envision your 2026, etc., when individuals are in survival mode, when individuals are able to come out of that. I can guide them in this time. But I really do encourage that at this point, you recognize where you are emotionally as a leader, because right now is a time to be managing people. That can be people in your office, people in your home, people in your community, and people that may be on the West. You are managing a lot. You are managing a lot of communication, WhatsApp, and sometimes inbound communication, emails, social media, God forbid. And you're also, many of you, managing within your company, brand care. And that is why I think that my job is so incredible, because I get the benefit of speaking to how to help you manage through a time of crisis. Now, the truth of the matter is all crisis crisis communications presentations I give is about preparing ahead of time for crisis. But for many, we didn't have that opportunity, and we didn't actually prepare. The truth of the matter is, much of our country was unable to prepare because we have never experienced what we are experiencing now, right? So even if we did have a crisis communications plan, likely now is a time that it may be not quite perfect. You see, crisis doesn't define your brand. How you treat people at this time does. That is how you treat people within your organization, your teams, your clients, your customers, your community. That is what is going to resonate from a crisis communications response. So the context of where is Jamaica now? We aren't just rebuilding buildings, absolutely important. And I want to acknowledge anyone here who is involved in any relief as an organization, and you could identify yourself. I'd love to us to celebrate you. Any relief efforts, any government work right now that's talking about our infrastructure, that is a heavy load, and I want to acknowledge you for taking the time to be with us here today, and acknowledge you for the work that you are doing. Because we're not just rebuilding buildings, we're rebuilding stability. And in a time of crisis, this requires calm, consistent, and human-centered leadership. More than ever, human-centered leadership, because this is beyond infrastructure. We're managing people with emotions, where there is emotional damage, where there is economic damage. And by the way, we're not doing those things. We are doing those things concurrently, right? We don't have the option of putting our emotions aside or leaving them at the door. Long gone are the days of I'm having problems at home and I don't bring them to work. That is a fallacy. If you are not feeling whole, if you're not feeling well, you can't leave your flu at the front door of your office. So you can't leave your emotional heaviness or overwhelm or some of the things that we found. You can't leave it at the door, and that is a long time fallacy. So our job as leaders are to support and stabilize people, protect brands, and sustain productivity. And if I might share, I was really impressed with my team recently, because before I could say it to the team leads that I have, I was going to say all sales initiatives are on pause for the week after, 2 weeks after, business development initiatives. All I want to hear are wellness check-ins. And before I put that in our group chat, to the leadership chat, I was getting reports that my team were just checking in with our existing and prospective clients. How are you doing? We're not trying to sell you anything at this point. How are you doing, communications person? How are you feeling? Is there any way that we can support? It's not a sell. It's literally how. We're there for you, seeing the human. And just so you know, I was impressed with my team because they didn't send an email. They called. They called. And that was important, as I said, because leadership in crisis means leading with both heart and head, right? We do need the executive function of the brain, the left-hand side of the brain, and Sonia, correct me if I'm wrong, we have to engage that now. We have to be productive. Many of us feel the burden of being so productive to support the third of our island that is in dire straits right now, whether we're doing that because we are now the family member who's taking care of, our uncle and aunt and mother who had a great farm, as an example. But now we have to be the ones. And so this is leading with heart and head, allowing the leadership to come from both places. Something is wrong. So internal communications comes first. We have a saying in Jamaica, and if I get it wrong, somebody correct me. But the saying is dance a yard before you dance abroad. The important thing here is that team members hear from you first. Your team must hear about your relief efforts first, and they must first be attended to. In the event, the worst possible case is that a team member sees that $150 million has been given to, I'll just say, food for the poor. That's a fantastic thing. But how would a team member feel knowing that no one asked them, do you need any help? Do you need any support during this time? Of that 150 million, could 10 have gone to the team, just as an example, right? Team members must feel heard during this time. It is important that, many of us in my company, certainly we are plagued with meetings on a Monday where we do check-ins on each of our departments, etc. It is great to start your meetings with a check-in on emotions at this time. It is a great idea that when you're speaking with clients or customers, vendors or suppliers, that you are doing not just how you stay, you good? Maybe ask something personal. And by personal, I mean, how are you doing? Not just how is the company performing? How are you doing? How is your family? Oh, I know your son plays soccer and he's away. How did he feel during the storm? Being away, just as an example. The most important thing also is to communicate even when you don't have answers. Silence is communication and it leaves a void. It is totally okay to say, I don't have an answer for you at this time. I see you, and this is to customers or team members, but right now I'm dealing with internal communication. I see you, I hear your request, and I hope to be able to get back to you in another 10 days so that people feel heard and attended to. And do in fact, please get back to them in 10 days, even if in 10 days you still don't have a response. The same thing would apply to a customer, which we'll get to in a moment. You're gonna, based on the poll, we saw where some people are feeling grateful, they're feeling encouraged. Those individuals, identify them. Those are your people champions. And whilst they are giving from themselves, Sonia said it right, they can give and give and give because they're the champions, but they may get into the overwhelm. But identify your people champions that can rally around the rest of the team, because some of us have survivor's guilt, some of us do not. Some of us are feeling overwhelmed by personal and work-related stuff. I give an example. I overlooked, I didn't know, I didn't see it. I felt terrible. I have a client in Montego Bay. She can't do laundry, but she has to show up every single day for work. That was such a surprise. I never thought of that before, all right? And her clothes and her sheets are molded and etc. She's gonna not express all her laundry to Kingston because she still has to show up for a 12-hour workday because she's actively involved in the restoration of her company's properties. So I really want you to think, who could be the people champion? Because communication is care. Care builds credibility and trust. Right now, credibility and trust in who you are as a team and who you are as a company is absolutely important. So caring for your team is protecting your brand. I want to give you an example because, many companies hire influencers, and rightfully so. Influencer marketing is extremely effective. But if somebody could share in the chat, I don't know that I can see it. Who do you think are your biggest influencers and brand ambassadors of your company? Anybody?
I'll let you know when they share it, Danielle. Grace
Is
Howell
it-
says employees, June Bryan says for staff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you are protecting your brand, when your team feels protected first, what you want is for them to go home and say, boy, today I was at work and they sent out a missive just asking what our needs were. They're telling this to their family of 4 who are going to go to work the next morning. I said, something, Grace Wayne came home yesterday, and it was so amazing. Can you imagine X brand? I don't want to call brands here because I don't know who's on the call, but X brand is thinking, was interested in Grace's welfare and how she's doing as a part. Do you know the ripple effect of protecting your greatest asset, which is your team, and is so often overlooked? Your biggest brand ambassadors are your team. While I am on Grace and I'm here, Grace, you asked a question earlier that was so profound about, and I think I remember it. If I get it wrong, forgive me.
But
It's a
you're right, 112 pages.
okay.
Okay, go on. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Grace's question. It's so difficult right now to say no. Many of us want to help everyone. Our companies want to help everyone. I know of a client who said, Danielle, as God is above me, if I wasn't a publicly listed company, I swear to God, I would give I'm doing their quarterly statements right now. And he said, I would give every single dollar of profit. He just feels the need. That's not wisdom at that point. That is emotion and absolutely lovely and shows the care in him. But they can't. So they've determined what they can, what is financially responsible, what is wise, because the company must go on. And I encourage each person here to think of it in that way. If this is going to be a long haul, as we've heard so many times, is it $10,000 a month that you could do? And be okay with hearing a request from a family member or a friend, or somebody requesting sponsorship, acknowledging their need. We understand, we see that. At this time, we are committed as a company to providing $10 million to shelter. They may have asked for help for baby care, and you want to say yes because God knows you have a baby at home, and it breaks your heart to say no. But once you lead your no with compassion, it is okay. It is okay to say no. So Grace, I hope that addressed the question that you had earlier from a different context.
Just says yes, it has.
Thank you. So reiterating, supporting staff mentally, emotionally, and physically, offering flexibility. Is this a time where we can afford to have remote work on certain days? For example, I have a team member who does have to go to and fro St. Elizabeth. She's supporting her family in St. Elizabeth. We all work remote, but I have flexibility because I understand I don't want her going to St. Elizabeth and arriving there in the night on a Friday evening. So if she were to ask me, DT, can I begin working earlier or work later on Thursday, etc., there is an opportunity where possible, not for everyone, for flexibility, remote work. We also have to be careful about what KPIs we had in place. Many of us operate, whether it be in balanced scorecard or some form of, rocks and KPIs, all the different management tools. As a team leader, you could know that landing five customers or executing 15 events in this next quarter is impossible. You know that. But your team, because they haven't been communicated with, they're still thinking they have to execute 15 events. And so you haven't communicated downwards that, hey, we are adjusting the KPIs. Actually, what we're going to do is have 15 touch points with brand new customers during this time. Is it an opportunity to adjust targets for people? And another thing is allowing mental health access, which Sonia touched on. Remember that team members are also survivors. And I want to be very clear on something. For those of us in the East that were not affected, we are affected. And team leaders, I invite you to realize that your team members were and are affected. It's just in a different way. It is neither more, less, right, wrong. It just is. We are all affected. So compassion drives loyalty. Loyalty drives recovery. How you treat your people becomes your brand story. Let me repeat that. How you treat your people on a normal day, much less in a crisis, much less in trauma, much less in survival, determines who you are as a brand. So I touched a while ago on managing productivity and realistic expectations. I asked my team yesterday how they're doing. This was a standard performance meeting that happens every fourth Tuesday at 11 o'clock. And it's a performance meeting. How many reports went out on time, etc. And I said, before you all start, I know operationally how you're doing, right? But I want you to understand, and I think you're doing a great job. Our system was down for a whole week, so we had to catch up while doing present work. But I also want you to recognize that I do not expect 100% productivity from everyone. Under normal circumstances, it is unrealistic to expect 100% of people all day, every day. That's why when we're doing time measurement of productivity, we don't use an 8-hour workday. We use a 5 or a 6 because people take lunch, people take breaks, people zone out. No one is ever at 100%. So don't set people up to fail. And now in this dispensation, there may be a day that you come back to work and you are rocking and rolling and you really are giving at 100% and a team member is giving 100%, or it feels like 100%. But I'd like you to give yourself permission and your team that we're not operating at 100%. And thus that's where the adjustment of KPIs come in. So redefining what productivity is very important. Team leaders here who own budgets. What does productivity look like? What does output look like? What does revenue look like now? And how can you communicate that so your team hears that as well? We do need to get our productive sector up. Many of us would have heard the Prime Minister's address 2 Tuesdays ago. It's important right now that we are productive to support the rest of this island right now. But let's also be human in our expectations of people. You know, Sonia spoke before about team, and I just wanted to put this in here. It almost doesn't fit on this slide, but I just liked it here. While you are looking at your productivity and molding together as a team and saying, hey, I see that you're not at 100% today, Donna, so you know something? I'm going to ask Grace if she can support you. And Grace says, yeah, absolutely, Donna, I'm right there. I'm right there for you. And next week we flip it around. So in developing all of that, we can also do things that are personal. Perhaps now as many people are daunted by economic crisis, maybe we come together and start doing bulk purchasing, right? So all our, cleaning supplies come to the office together. These are just practical examples of how we can build togetherness, sharing resources. A friend of mine, he does the eggs because he has an egg lady. Before, I don't know how I'm going to contribute. Now, I used to do produce because I had a produce person, right? Now more than ever, this morning we were talking about eggs. And look at flexible deadlines, which is with each other, supporting each other through flexible deadlines. The key takeaway here is there's an equation. Empathy plus economic awareness equals responsible recovery. It's both. They must add together. So leadership clarity is very important during this time. Many of you would have seen this, this matrix, the Eisenhower matrix for clarity. And looking right now, everybody feels when your parasympathetic system has gone on a break, right? And you are in survival mode, everything feels urgent. Every single thing feels urgent. It is important as team leaders right now that when we are assigning things to team members, that we are communicating what's important and urgent, important but not urgent. We're very practical in what is urgent right now because everyone has a sense of urgency And that is a lot of our overwhelm. Do I have to produce this by 10 o'clock today? No. And if I do have to produce by 10 o'clock today, what, boss person, Donna, could I move this to 2 o'clock? But before that, Donna, I want you to say, hey, Grace, would love to have this report by 10 o'clock this morning, recognizing that you may have competing deliverables. So I'm going to invite you to do those for 2 o'clock. All important, but not everything is urgent. Urgency really comes up when you're in a traumatic or a survival response. Postpone or cancel non-critical marketing, being on brand, on tone. Right now is not the time. Sorry, let me reframe. Now is the time to be thinking through what is happening to your clients and customers psychologically. It's also, from a marketer's perspective, if you are in a time of media saturation, perhaps now is not the time to be encouraging people around their next mortgage or the next big party that's going to be held, or you as an event planner, planning company as an example, right? Because events are being canceled. Events would be done differently. I have 3 clients who have canceled their Christmas party already. This impacts many marketing and agencies, right? But they will do other things. We learned this from COVID. We learn how to convene differently. So look at critical marketing for your company. What messages will most resonate during this time? As team leaders, I want you to look at delegation and automation at this time, which is important and urgent. Planning and scheduling, process creation, and team development and comfort. Being efficient with time and human capacity. Is there an opportunity to empower more managers within your organization right now? I proposed a promotion yesterday for someone because I want people to feel empowered, right? And I only got that idea from another client who really wanted some team members to feel like they could take charge when there was so much coming at him. And I thought it was a wonderful moment to empower people who I believe want to and are able to management at this time. I encourage you to schedule focus and quiet time in your schedules, and encourage your team members to do it as well. Maybe that's the time that we do some deep breathing. This is a time to be documenting how we manage through this crisis, because on the other side of it, I'd be glad to work with you, or you work with your communications team on securing and shoring up your crisis response, whether that be the HR crisis response, your marketing crisis response, your systems and physical infrastructure crisis response. It's absolutely important to be documenting some of the learnings that you're having now. That also brings a feeling of empowerment. So use this crisis to create systems for the when, not the if. We've already seen the if happen. It's just a matter of when. You know, a lot of people have been asking me, and I have a presentation on Friday, about how can we use AI in the middle of a crisis, right? Now, we have to be very careful with AI from a security perspective. So for those of you who are using ChatGPT for everything in life, I think it's fantastic that you are. Please ensure to go into the settings and lock the security so that your searches and the documents you're uploading about your clients are not available to all and sundry in chat. It is actually a setting that should be engaged, especially for data protection. But it is a great time to integrate AI for messaging and resilience, because we are not operating at 100%. For those of us who have to be spitting out marketing material and communications material, HR managers who are trying to ensure that their team members are properly equipped with the messages, etc. Use AI, create a voice in AI, whether that be in chat, Claude, Notebook LM. There's so many to choose from. But you can draft emphatic messages if you use AI, firstly, to tell, I'm going to use the example of ChatGPT, tell Chat, my brand is. So at iPrint, I saw that as I think the iPrint leadership team is on. I think I saw that earlier. At iPrint, our brand tone is, our key messages are, prompt ChatGPT first and then say, I would like to ensure that all our team members understand we are here for them in these 5 practical ways. Please generate this for me and ways I can deliver it. Could be an example. Then you can move on to still asking, delivering it and prompting it with the right brand tone, how you'd like to go to suppliers and vendors, right? You can use ChatGPT, Claude, or Perplexity to determine and help you with very, very powerful brand messaging. You can automate FAQs. As FAQs come into you can ask your customer service. I'm not sure if anyone is on from JPS or any of the utilities, right? They're getting questions fielded all day long, and many of them will repeat. Have a shared file, and once a question comes in and you have an answer for it, feed it into a Claude or a ChatGPT that creates an FAQ manual for you that is then shared with your wider customer service team, allowing AI to support us during our communications effort. And of course, from there, creating content templates for client and public updates. At One Great Studio, one of the things that we are doing is that we are helping our clients from here on, because as I said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We are going to be creating a content canned responses video. We're going to consider all possible crises that could happen to our country. And we are going to create digital assets. We're going to create press releases. We are going to create canned responses so that once something happens, it becomes automated on how our clients are able to respond quickly as they themselves are processing what needs to be done. You want to, at this point, be doing touch points. This is not so much a net promoter score, but you could use your same system if you have to get the same way we did a poll here today on the temperature of the organization, and also tracking morale. Creating content templates for client and public updates. Remember I said before, no response, no communication is a response. So you must be communicating. So what we're saying here is using AI where possible, and agencies and external resources and your own human capital to create human warmth, but with digital precision. I've spoken about this before, internal alignment, informing staff before posting or sending public updates, ensuring internal understanding of all external statements. If there are individuals who may be wondering right now, my company won't fare well through this. You are in the boardroom or you are in the management meeting discussing this. So your team they're smart people. They're thinking it through. Have the conversation with them about what the economic outlook looks like and how you can band together. Don't allow people to go home wondering, what is this all going to mean for me? Tell them, and tell them certainly before it's covered in the media or social media. Invite internal stories that reflect your values. So those who have benefited from your help, etc., ask them if they wouldn't mind sharing with the team, because that guides your brand and shows that you do care. And reinforcing your visual and verbal consistency. This time in life is culture before communication, establishing what is our culture and what is our temperature before communicating. For external communications, tone, transparency, and trust. You want to speak clearly and calmly. As I said to you, I was extremely nervous, right? But in delivering, it is important to be clear and calm, not overselling or understating. Clarity is what's most important. Being concise and precise is what I always say. Use your brand's natural voice. People will see an AI voice. People will see, I'll tell you a secret. When I worked at GMMB a million years ago, I don't know if GMMB is on the call, I had the pleasure of working with Donna Duncan Scott, and one of the best learnings I ever had in communication was anything that we produced for Donna Duncan Scott at the time, who led marketing. She would cover the GMMB logo in reviewing it, and if any other brand could have been put where that logo was, we had to start over. The genuine GMMB authentic voice was what Donna wanted to see in visual, in radio, etc. And it was a great learning for me. So everything I review now, is this on brand for my client or on brand for the company that I'm working with? We spoke before about acknowledging reality. These are real times. And just because I could not have considered laundry being a problem for someone. But if we come from a place of empathy, we can see that laundry is very difficult for somebody who lives in a house of 5 and still has to go to work for 12 hours every day. Acknowledging the reality, acknowledging customers will have a reality that their remittances have slowed down, so they may not make. I don't know if we have any bankers online today, but I would like to posit that just as we did in COVID, perhaps there is some loan relief that can be offered because people's income and revenue has slowed down or has been on pause. It allows you to communicate to your clients that you see their reality. And this is not just the people who have lost their homes. These are the people in Kingston and St. Catherine and St. Thomas who are now having to help. So maybe a 3-month or 4-month moratorium. We did it in COVID, so it's possible under law to offer it to people so that they can use that money. Your loan is extended by another 3 to 4 months. That's a given, right? But it shows that you are acknowledging reality and offering people hope. Be intentional around thanking your team. You're a team leader. Being intentional around thanking your clients for supporting your initiatives and being a part of your growing company. And I don't need to say it, but it is important. Only share verified and helpful information, especially if you are a large company, a large brand whose voice will be heard. In chaos, clarity becomes kindness. I'm just going to close here-ish with practical brand crisis management tips. I spoke to you about, we would have started this with before a crisis, and perhaps another time we can go through the development of a full pre-planning crisis management. But building a crisis response team, HR, PR, operations, legal, drafting messages, templates, and approval protocols. By the way, many of you will hit your crisis point as a company a few months from now. You may not be in it now, so start thinking, when will my department, when will my company be impacted? When will we start to feel that? You have time to create for that. If you could foresee right now that you may have to go into redundancy exercises, we don't want that to become a crisis. So we start planning from now. Maintain updated stakeholder contacts. One of the reasons why I have a client who keeps us one of the reasons they keep us as an agency is that if they ever get hacked, they have no way of communicating with the public. So we would be their only way. So we maintain their strong media contacts and their major communication suppliers. We maintain that for them. During a crisis, communicate often and clearly. Monitor your social and media chatter. Monitor it very, very keenly and closely. Align visuals and tone. Avoid generic hope imagery. What does your brand stand for naturally? How does your brand speak naturally around hope? After a crisis, conduct a brand audit. You need to know, have you lost any brand equity, any brand affinity? It's absolutely important to do a brand audit. You can do a brand audit during the crisis as well. Auditing your brand means determining how your internal and external stakeholders feel about your brand at this time, and reconnect with clients through authentic follow-ups. Strategic spending. I spoke before about many of us as team leaders being in a time of budgeting. Now, I understand that there may be the term cost containment, especially when a prime minister speaks to a possible economic recession. or a significant dent. Let me not say that. I didn't hear him say those words. He spoke to a considerable contraction in the contributions to our GDP coming out of tourism and agriculture. So it is natural to feel that we need to go into cost containment. That is wise in many cases. But don't disappear as a brand. It costs you a lot more to regain brand momentum, brand affinity, brand equity if you have lost it. So I want to say to you, if it means you have to do cost containment, scale down, don't go silent. Continue your PR and marketing at a sustainable level, especially if you are a publicly listed company. It is absolutely important that you maintain that from a regulatory perspective. As I said before, rebuilding brand equity costs far more later. So you are protecting your brand now is actually protecting future revenue. So in terms of economic recovery and our role as companies and how we communicate, those who can produce must. We will have several companies in this country who will do very well during this time, and we're thankful for them. Construction companies, hardware, zinc providers, shipping, trucking, etc. They will do very well, and we applaud them, and we invite them to do even more. Productivity is actually very important for us right now to stabilize our economy, ensure there's liquidity. Team members need to get that, understand that their participation every single day is contributing to the rebuilding of Jamaica. Many of you may have seen a post made by me, but I have to put it here. We shop local, we buy responsibly, and we pay fairly to people. This is a big part when we're doing business with each other right now. Just because we're in an aid time, look at small businesses and pay them fairly. Medium businesses, pay them fairly at this time, because we need our small to medium, the vendors that you work with, the photographers, the consultants that you bring in from time to time. Yes, we're in cost containment, but we need the economy to keep turning. And we need team members to see that we treat people well. We treat our partners well in crisis. Be human, stay human. Crisis doesn't define your brand. It's how you treat people that does. Every policy, every message should say we care, as you naturally would say it. Empathy is not weakness, it's leadership. Stopping to hear, even if you can't identify with a team member, communicating with them includes listening to what they are going through. Protect people, protect your brand, means protecting the nation. Walk good and prosper is for how I end every single presentation. And before I go into any possible questions, and you can begin putting them in, I leave every single presentation asking, and for those who participate, and for those who have the same or similar belief system as I do, I invite you to make a declaration over our company. For those who don't, I mean no disrespect. But before I do that, I pray that the Lord will bless you and keep you, that his face will shine upon you and your company and your leadership and be gracious unto you. May he lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you peace, give you wisdom, give you calm, and give you clarity at such a time as this. And before I open again, I wanted to share with you something that I've been saying over and over again. That I decree and declare that the people of Jamaica shall rebuild the ancient ruins and raise up old foundations. That we are calling forth builders, visionaries, and intercessors for those who will restore what has been broken. Let this land, let your company not be known for its struggles, but for its restoration. Thank you so much. I'm open for all questions.
Amen. 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 Thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you so much. All right. And we have a question coming in, and I also have one for you. So our question from R. Tyson is, how do you handle unresponsiveness by staff?
Absolutely. Curiosity. I noticed that I've been asking you for that report and I haven't gotten a response from you on that. I notice that it's different than how you would have communicated in the past. Is there any reason why? Can I support you on that? If people's behavior has changed all of a sudden, there's a reason for it. So when we come from curiosity, we're not coming, it doesn't come across as condemnation. And there does come a point, if there is still no responsiveness, because we've come from the empathetic place as a leader, there comes a point at which you have to say, I have been trying to get through to you to understand your perspective, where you are coming from, and what may be standing in your way to offer support. So I'm going to extend that to you one more time. But after this, we may be having, I'd like for us to have a different conversation, which is telling, but it's still empathetic. But the first thing is curiosity. People don't just change their style of communication for no apparent reason. There's something happening there. As a leader, find out why and offer help.
Okay, thank you. And I think on that is where one of my questions came from, because sometimes people tend to close up. We're gonna assume we're not dealing with all perfect workplaces, right?
No,
And
none of us are at perfect workplaces.
right. So people might have been closing up from even before, but now it's almost like it's exacerbated. So my question that I had was, what if a leader or the leadership of the company wasn't following your beautiful roadmap before? And it wasn't about, let me see how I can make sure that my employees are doing okay. Because the fact is, this is day what? This is about day 15, 14 or since the storm. We've already gone that number of days.
13. Mhm.
Right. So what if they hadn't been following that roadmap, but now we have so many leaders on here? How do we fix it? How can we backtrack? How do we make amends, especially if staff was already untrusting, feeling hurt by our response, feeling like, there wasn't adequate care.
Absolutely. And you know what the great thing about that is? We can start right after this call. That same thing about curiosity. That same thing about owning, hey, you know something? As a leader, I wasn't at my 100% either. And I totally wanted to get back out there and ensure we remain strong as a company. I didn't check in with you. How are you doing? Hey, client, we wanted to make sure that we delivered for you at this time, but we never stopped to say, is there anything we can do to support you during this time? How are you doing? How is your son at Monroe? How is that going? I know you have a son that went to Manning's. How did that go? There is absolutely empathy and honesty is so important during this time in communication. I could have come here with all sorts of ways to craft a press release and all of that. That happens naturally when you determine your actual emotional, empathetic, understanding, brand tone. That happens, the output of your digital posts and your press releases, etc., come naturally after you have determined all of those things. So if you can identify a team member right now who you realize is not responsive or is not themselves, it's a great time to go and sit with them. Go for a walk, go to lunch, go into the canteen and say, listen, come up we talk. Or a team member.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So our Tyson, I hope that helped. And another question is, staff are thinking about themselves and their needs right now. And as leaders, we understand that it's important to make sure they're okay. How do we help them to understand the company's responsibility in ensuring that we continue to serve our communities and our doors remaining open to help those communities and help with recovering and nation building?
Absolutely. So our primal response is to care for our own first. I can tell you, if my daughter wasn't a big house-steering married woman on her own, and she was still a 10-year-old in this house, I would be attending to her much more than I would. And so I would have that understanding, right? But you know what, you know what, this beautiful thing, I don't know if I could give this same talk in every single country. I would have to look at the cultural nuance. Because the cultural nuance is of Jamaica, we've seen it through and through, is that once we see that we are a part of the country, that what we do is meaningful to recovery, that this company, I can't see company names, I'll use iPrint again just because they came, Make Your Mark Consultants, iPrint, DRT Communications, Sagicor, JPS, every single Omni Industries, Jamaica Packaging, you name it, every single company that maintains productivity, etc., is helping our nation. And your job, the truth is, outside of crisis, people need to know that their job, janitor to CEO, actually contributes to the production of this company. I remember years ago when I first started going to a church, there was a young lady, very established, very, you know, a manager of somewhere. And she said to me, I asked her if she needed a lift home and why she was still at the church. I didn't understand. And she says, no, 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 no. I arrive an hour before. I'm the one who cleans the church hall. And I clean the church hall when everyone leaves. And I said, wow, that's great. I never thought about cleaning up the church hall before. And she prepares the toilet paper, etc. And she said, Danielle, I do that because this church, when people come, there must be an invitation. It must be a good place and a clean place. We must all come to a good place, in this case, to worship. And so she felt that that was her ministry at this time. And that was how she felt she could be meaningful. And we both had a joke, because I always have a joke, nobody can clean a bathroom like me, right? So I even said I would join her ministry with her, because cleanliness for me is definitely near to godliness. So we had that joke, but the thing is, that's how she felt like she was a part of a bigger picture. How is your team member feeling as a part of the bigger picture? Then you can introduce becoming more productive. Then you can do the rally call. Then you can say, last year we did $100 million in revenue and digital ad placement and new loan offerings, etc. This year, no matter what's happening, the rally call is, let's try and do 120 billion. After you get people communicating with them that you care and that they are important and that their voice matters, all ships sail out the harbor right after that.
Thank you for that. That's very helpful because yes, I think a lot of us are asking the question of how do we move from the individual and caring for their needs to know, okay, remember the company is here and we want to keep it thriving.
Right. I also want to just give a practical example. I do hope at all times people can learn from me. I spoke before about the KPIs. So I did my Q4 planning from the second week of Q3, right? And I produced it to my executives. And I have two managers that fall under me. And so you have DT's accountability, and then you have the accountability of the managers that fall under me. Now, I have to make sure, as I said before, that the two managers that fall under me recognize that I hear that we just sat to the table. Is this still possible? And it was such a refreshing thing for all of us, because I could now go to my executive and say, hey, well, this is how we're going to change, because this is how we see the temperature. Do you agree? So inviting people to the table to say, these KPIs don't work anymore. Or actually, we're in an industry that can actually do better, because there are. So how are we going to do that? Inviting people to contribute to that. I didn't tell my managers what their new KPIs are. As a matter of fact, I've never told my managers what their KPIs should be in or out of a crisis. I asked them to develop it, and then I challenged them if there could be more.
Okay, sounds like a good plan. So thank you, Danielle. My last question for you is, now that we're at the end, you've gone through 2 breathing exercises. You were nervous when you started, but how are you doing now?
I am feeling good. I always ask God to allow my gifts and talents to be used. and the opportunities to do so. And if any of you would like to reach out to me for further support, just know that it is my prayer to support you. If you'd like to bring this talk into your company, that would be perfectly fine, because I am in the service business, whichever one of my businesses I am in. So my prayer is always allow me to serve. So having served, I hope I was of service to everyone.
You were, and we just want to make sure that you continue to be okay, even as you pour out for us. So thank you. Thank you again so much, Danielle. All right, so we have less than 10 minutes left. So I'm going to invite Dr. Jacqueline Coke-Lloyd to come and wrap it up. Please feel free to drop your comments in the chat. That will prove as part of your testimonials as well, in terms of your feedback on Danielle's presentation, Sonia's presentation, for those of you who were on earlier. We're gonna also drop, I believe, the attendance roster and our 2 forms, our evaluation form and our testimonial forms in the chat. So you can look out for that. But we appreciate the encouragement that's coming in the chat. So go ahead and drop your comments there. So Dr. Coke-Lloyd, are you there? Ready for us?
Thank you, Tricia. Good morning, everybody. I really didn't plan to do a presentation, not in this way, but I just thought it would be good to just drop in a few points. But before I go, I'd like to thank Sonia and Danielle for their really exceptional presentations. I've learned so much this morning. And it's always good for us to reflect on who we are, what we do, how we do it. And don't believe that we know it all, despite how long we've been on this earth. We learn so much every day. And in just 2 hours, actually, just 2 hours, the amount I have grasped and have just been reinforced for me. So it's not about time, and it's not about having a whole day. 5 minutes can change our lives. So I'm just gonna ask Mark to just upload my short presentation. And I really feel blessed this morning. I really do. I felt it and I know why. Thanks, Mark. Can we upload? Thanks.
And while Mark gets that ready, just to highlight that, so Sonia has been through our mental health portion, Danielle from our communications perspective, and Dr. Coke-Lloyd will speak to us from the business leadership perspective, because that's who we have in the room today. So I believe your presentation is up now.
Yes, it's just a few points. I'm thinking there should be a few actions for leaders and HR, because I know most of you are leaders or you're supervisors and you manage people or you lead people. So there's a few things I'd like for us to consider before we go. So Mark, we can move on. It's a time for us to assess our policies and procedures. This is unprecedented what we have gone through. Many of us, some of us might not have policies and procedures which govern crisis and just dealing with teams, looking at hurricane safety and health. So it's a time for us to assess our policies and procedures. What do we have? If you don't have the resources in-house to do the review, get somebody to come in and have a look at it. Or you use AI, what is it that we should be including in our policies and procedures? Get your team together. What have we learned over this time? Danielle has spoken about documenting the learnings. So this is a time for us in doing the assessment to update. Excuse me. We can move on, Mark. Yeah, so we need to update and prepare new policies. We might want to, in doing the assessment, you will have to update, and then sometimes you might have to prepare new policies, because what you have there might not work. Or as I said, you might not have anything at all that is going to work. And there are a number of policies out there that you can choose from, whether online. Contact your your teammates or your even your competitors. Competitors are willing to share their policies and procedures. Jamaicans are like that. So, you know, there are different organizations that have it and they're willing to share with you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You look online, you ask your colleague in a sister company or some kind of organization that you have some level of respect for, and they're more mature in their policy development. Ask them to share with you. And there are many who are willing to do so. And then you can pull and see which ones are suitable for your team and your vision and your way forward. We can go on, Mark. This is a time for us to invest in new skills. We often say Jamaicans are resilient, but it comes out at a time when some of our team members might not be. So we might look at resilience training, you know, the psychosocial aids. How do we look at helping people to shift and adapt? So your training department also needs to revise its training offerings, its policy, its whole vision and goals, because it's not only this crisis, but other crises will develop and other catastrophes will develop. How do we make our people really resilient, how make them able to shift and adapt and move quickly so that they remain calm, they become more productive, and they understand the scenario and how to move forward in the future in a more wholesome way, not only for themselves, but their families and for the organization and the country. Because as the Prime Minister says, those of us who are unaffected, we need to get back to business quickly, because if we don't, we won't be able to help those who are affected. Many of us have family members who have come in. I mean, the data is showing that people are leaving the West and the South to come to Kingston for jobs or to stay with relatives. So it means that those of us in Kingston and unaffected areas will have to produce even more now, probably earn more to manage the changes that are happening. And so organizations in Kingston might have to expand just to take on people who have been displaced from the South and the West. So that is our role. How do we help our organizations to be resilient, to expand, take on new roles, new jobs, to help those who are displaced? Continue, Mark. Yes. Your team meetings, if you have an agenda or you have regular team meetings, you might want to change the agenda. What does it look like to include check-ins and updates from your team if you've not been doing that? I know many it's not a regular thing for it to be part of your agenda, just to get feedback. And I know Danielle and Sonia alluded to this, but it would be good for you to document this and have a purposeful change for check-in with your team members, not only because it's a crisis, but in general, how do we look at continuity and just empathy and getting an understanding of everybody's lives. We want to be problem solvers and not complainers, because, you know, we know that when we complain, it changes our whole brain and how we think and how we behave. But when we think about solving a problem and a solution, you get a different kind of feel and dopamine. Everything just feels different about your life and how you see life, how you're able to discuss life, how we're able to give solutions. So let us look at ourselves as problem solvers. And if complaining comes to your lips, kind of zip it. As we say, what comes from our mouth usually kind of takes root. So we wanted to shift our brain as those of us who are leaders, shift our brain and those we lead to be problem solvers and don't complain, because it keeps us in a non-productive mode and it makes many of us sad. I want to say every idea is a potential game changer. Many of us believe that our ideas are not helpful because we're maybe not executive, not senior management, we're not on the board, but every idea is a potential game changer. And I don't think you understand how the government and our organizations want ideas. because it is a simple idea that will bring about a new product, a new way of solving a problem, new line, a new way of just living, a problem solving our team members' issues in the West. Many of us are sitting here, but our team members in the West, our family members in the West and the South, they can't even think to solve their own problems. But we have ideas. So we need to feed it into our organization, feed it to our families, and feed it to the government. And you'll be surprised that these things make a difference in the life. So don't be afraid of giving an idea, and don't think that we're too small. Always think that you're big enough to add value. And great leaders create a vision that inspires action. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like us to just give hope. Hope is what keeps us alive, and it works. It works. Just speak to ourselves, speak to our teams. Just continue to give hope even when you don't feel hopeful, because it's what we think and what we speak that makes that difference. And I believe that, you know, God and Jesus he's the one, and that's going to keep us going. Thank you so much. I'll hand back over to Tricia.
Thank you, Dr. Coke-Lloyd. All right, so thank you, everyone. Wow. Well, in the comments you said just what an excellent session this has been, and I believe that's true for all of us, for myself and our team members at Make Your Mark, as well as for you and your team members. I know some of you are getting together in groups, in rooms, listening to this, and we hope that you'll keep in mind some of the key takeaways, some of the key points. The first, well, the one that I noticed the most was breathe. Breathe, just those breathing exercises, super helpful. Take that moment. It occurred to me, why do we call it a restroom? Sometimes you just need to go there and rest for 2 minutes, refresh yourself, and then come back. It's not just for, you know, physical relief, but for mental relief. So those breathing exercises, I feel, are fabulous. And as Danielle said, there's a lot more out there. Listen. At this time, it's key for us to listen, even as we build our own boundaries around how we care for others. We listen. Care builds credibility and trust. It's how we're going to come out of this. And Dr. Jackie shared about creating a vision that inspires action. How we frame, how the company is going through this, how we are going through this is going to determine what we look like 3 months down the road, 10 months down the road, 5 years down the road. So we have to, as we go through, even be looking at the vision of how do we want to come out of this? I mean, it's not enough to just come with the cute taglines that say, you know, building Jamaica stronger. What will that really look like? The Chinese often speak about pulling opportunity out of chaos. So do we want to be more empathetic people as well as more productive and prosperous people? Today, we've been given the tools, I think, to accomplish both, to keep all of that in mind. So I want to thank you again for coming. If you look in the chat, you'll see the links to our attendance form, testimonial form, and evaluation form, which we'd love if you could complete before you log off, especially the attendance form, because that's how you'll get the documentary support from our speakers, the one that Sonia mentioned and that Danielle mentioned. So 1 page, a crisis management document, and the one that will help you to go through with your employees, you know, step by step, especially for those of you in HR, how you can help them to process as we're at this stage of recovery. So Make Your Mark, from me and the entire team at Make Your Mark, I want to thank you again for coming and ask that you have a good afternoon. If you have any needs, our numbers are listed on our website, or you can email us info@makeyourmarkconsultants.com, especially if you feel like this is information you would want for other team members. You can let us know. Okay, so thanks again and have a good afternoon. And like I said, we're going to keep it up. We're going to be playing some music to close out. We're going to keep the Zoom open so that you can still have access to the testimonial form the evaluation form, and the attendance form. But once you've completed those, you can feel free to log off. Thank you very much. So Michael, over to you. You know, my theme song that I said I wanted to play for the end, Michael, so you can go ahead with that one. I know that music has been something that has been keeping me through this time. So hopefully it helps you as well.
But I can make an explosion. And all those things I didn't say were wrecking balls inside my brain. I will scream loud tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's turned on. Starting right now. I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes, 'cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me. Losing friends and I'm chasing sleep. Everybody's worried about me. In too deep. Say I'm in too deep. And it's been 2 years, I miss my home. But there's a fire burning in my bones. Still believe. Yeah,
Hello. Don't worry, we're gonna get it back up. This one is critical, important to what we're doing today.